doing all of its interconnections.
You tell me when I go, will you tell me? Because I don't have a clue.
All right.
Producer, you.
Welcome to Gotta Ask, hosted by Ray Brownlee. This is a presentation of Ump Life. Tonight's guest is professional umpire Greg Gibson. Please type your questions in the chat box below, and we will get them to Greg as soon as we can. This video will be posted to the Ump Life page after tonight's show for viewing. Keep in mind, this feed is about 30 to 40 seconds behind what you are seeing. I now introduce Ray Brownlee.
Thanks, Tommy. I just want to welcome everybody. This is something I plan to do for a while. In my job, I've gotten to meet a lot of Major League umpires, and I just thought I'm going to combine their job, what they're like, ask some questions, and just keep being positive, spreading the word about umpiring. And it's from Little League to the major leagues. I know literally thousands and thousands of umpires now, and it's a big family, and it doesn't matter what level you work, you can be a professional umpire. So tonight I have Greg Gibson, a Major League umpire who I met 2 years ago. And I met him down in Sarasota. He was helping out at a camp just before spring training. And I've met him a couple times since. So welcome, Greg.
Glad to be here.
So we talked a little earlier today. I'm just looking at your resume. All-Star games, wildcard games, 3 of those, divisional series, lots of them, league championships, World Series, World Baseball Classics.
One World Series. I got a few.
World Series, but you know what? One World Series is pretty impressive.
I'm the bridesmaid, not a bride.
Yep. What was it like working the World Baseball Classic?
You know, it was fun. You know, I enjoyed meeting the guys. Trevor, I believe, is right there in Toronto.
Trevor Graves, yes.
He came to Taiwan with us, and we had a good time. So, I mean, I've enjoyed that. I enjoyed the guys going to Taiwan. I didn't necessarily enjoy going to Taiwan. When you're from Eastern Kentucky, that was a lot of culture shock for me. We weren't in Taipei. We were in someplace else. I mean, it was, but Mexico City, I went there, had a ball. Mexico City was awesome. I loved Mexico City. So I've enjoyed, you know, my times working it.
Actually, Trevor is going to be a guest number 6 or 7, because he just, obviously he is now an international umpire, former pro umpire, but he's going to the Olympics, which has been postponed. So
yeah.
We're going to, the theory with Trevor, we're going to talk about life after professional baseball, where you can go home and get a really good job. He's a policeman in Toronto, but he's an international umpire and now an Olympic umpire. So there is life after professional baseball.
Yes.
So that's going to be really interesting to have him. So it's, I didn't know this, but you were the first umpire to have a call overturned in replay.
Yeah.
I found that fascinating. And it was during a regular season game. Can you remember that?
Oh, yeah. I think I went to call him out, and I changed my call to safe, and I looked at Ted right away. I was like, crap, I missed it. You know, not something you want to be known for, but I speak to kids, and one of the things that I talk about, the first time replay was ever used, I was on the field for that, and it was Frank Pulley in 1999.
Right.
And a lot of people don't remember that one. Cliff Floyd hit a ball that went off the wall in Miami, and it wasn't my call, it was Frank's. And Cliff and I had been through the minor leagues together. He got to second base, and he said, Gibby, that was a home run. I said, no, it's not. It hit the wall. Well, he ran right to Frank at third and talked to Frank. Well, Frank gave out a whistle and did this for home run, and all the Cardinals came out of the dugout. So back then, we didn't huddle. I mean,
Right.
Frank Cooley was an old school guy, and huddling, that didn't happen. And we huddled. And so he started in seniority. He went to Greg Bonet. What do you got? I don't know. Ed Rapuano, what do you got? I don't know. He called me Hoot. He said, Hoot, what do you got? I said, Frank, the ball hit the wall. He went, what? I mean, it was And I said, no, Frank, the ball hit the wall. He goes, where did it hit the wall? I said, what do you do? Draw you an X on the board out there? I said, I'm telling you, the ball hit the wall. So with that, he started walking towards the Marlins dugout. And let's just say that Mr. Coleman, the National League president at the time, sent out a memo saying not to use it. And then when we used it, I think it was the first time, was it 2008 or 2009? 2008. I was working the plate. It was myself, Brian Runge, Charlie Relaford, and Jerry Lane. Jerry was at first, Charlie was at second, Brian was at third. And I think A-Rod hit a ball, and Brian called it fair. And it was a Wednesday night ESPN game, and we huddled. And Brian and I both had it fair. But anyway, when we huddled, I looked at Charlie and I said, we got replay, let's use it. You don't want to be wrong. So Charlie, Jerry, and Brian went off the field and confirmed the call. And then I missed that one. So one of the things I do when I talk to kids is I tell them, Meatloaf said it best, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So that's actually my speech that I give. It's, 2 out of 3. So if you're shooting 2 out of 3 in life, I'll take it.
So when replay first came in, I know talking to other umpires, it was the unknown. And talking to guys now, all the way down the road, it's just part of the game now, right?
Oh yeah. I'm cut from the old school cloth. Our young guys, they've never had a problem with it. But and I tell guys, it's not, when you miss, nobody likes to miss. All of our guys, have a lot of pride. Nobody likes to miss. Nobody likes getting overturned. But with time, we've all embraced it. When you're in replay, there's a lot of times the fans don't understand that those monitors in there, the bandwidth that they run on are incredible. We've actually, when it first came, it's gotten better. We actually will freeze frame it, and you can count the pebbles on a steel plate kicking up. I mean, it's what we can see, and see, you don't get that in the stadiums all the time. You don't see what we see. And sometimes, depending upon, if the home team feed versus the visiting team feed, they obviously want to, promote their team, which is fine. But a lot of people don't realize that we see things in there a lot of times that they never see. And then, there's certain times where, good luck. I mean, some of those plays are so close, but we've embraced it. And the most important thing is nobody wants to get a play named after them, and nobody wants to. I've missed game-ending calls, knowing that you have that. You never want to be the reason you cost a team a win. So it's one of those things where we've embraced it over time, and it's not like it once was. It was the boogeyman, obviously. Nobody likes change. Right. I don't care what job you work at. Nobody. It's hard sometimes when you've been doing something, and all of a sudden they walk in one day and they change, some things on you. It takes time. But one of the things about, especially my group of guys, my age, we've been through a lot of changes. When I came to the big leagues, not every game was on television. That's something that people don't remember. The older guys would talk about the red light coming on in center field, and I always got stuck working the Wednesday night game or the Saturday and the Sunday game. And now we think nothing of, being on television. And now, it's gotten to the point we don't, there's a lot of times we're going to the headset, it's not like it was. But did it affect when we first started? Oh yeah. Cause you go on, and it is what it is.
So that answer coming from an old school guy, I've asked that question to a rookie or a guy that's only been around for 4 years, and it's the same answer, but that technical side of a young umpire is Ray. I can learn from that.
Yeah, I mean,
it's identical.
One of the things that's really cool about being in replay, it's turned into, a learning ground, because it's constant. You're looking at plays. When you see that play, or you see that miss, or you see that camera angle, you're thinking, okay, how can I get in a position on this, on this certain play. And it's forced. One of the things that it's causing our guys to do when we're in that room, we're talking usually umpiring.
Right.
Something will come up and then you get the old, well, what if this would have happened? So it's one of those things where it's kind of trained us to talk, umpiring a lot more. I mean, we're in that room, we're constantly, not every night, but I would say when you go in there for a week, 4 out of 7 nights, something, the game's always something. So we're talking about things. What would you do here? What would you do there? So replay's been good from a teaching aspect. The younger guys really saw that early on. And one of the things about it, if you want to be good at this, you have to master your craft. When I first came to the big leagues, I grabbed every videotapes.
Right.
And my mom and dad still have scads of videotapes. I would, of the mornings, Michelle, my wife, would go to work. I'd put a tape in and give one of the boys, I have 3 sons, and I was Mr. Mom. So I'd give one of the boys a bottle. I sit down and watch my games behind the plate. But now, we're able to analyze and look at things, and, you get stuff back on your phone. So, we're using it as a teaching tool more and more and more. So it's not the boogeyman that it once was.
Good answer. Thanks for doing that. Take me back to your first professional minor league play job and bring me forward to work in the World Series on the plate.
Well,
tell me your feelings.
And I was working the first night in Bristol, Tennessee. I'll tell you that. I was 22-year-old kid. That'll be 30 years ago, Ray. It's been a while. So, it's one of those things where Jerry Davis kind of said it best. The anticipation of that next pitch, the next play, the next call, the next series, the next event. Once you learn how to handle that, it's about time to retire. And the anticipation that first night of that first pitch, let's just say that the anticipation is not like it once was. But yeah, I mean, once that first pitch, no matter playoff game, whatever, that first pitch goes down the chute, the anticipation's over. It's business as usual. Here we go.
Thank you. August 15th, 2012. You had a bit of a play at the plate with Torrey Hunter.
Yeah.
You were telling me earlier that I can't see the scar up here in Canada, but you say your wife can see it.
Yeah, it's there. It was, yeah. That was on a Wednesday night. I was scheduled to come off the field. I was sick. I mean, I had upper respiratory infection. I was sick as a dog. And the Indians and the Angels had kind of been into it. And on Tuesday night, the Indians started hitting a lot of home runs, and there was some words back and forth and some things were going on. And anyway, long story short, I've been around. Torrey and I pretty much got started at the same time and everything. Well, anyway, I can't remember who hit the ball. Torrey was on first, and he hit second base, was headed towards third. And the next thing I know, here he's coming to the plate. Well, I set up for a collision because knowing Torrey like I know him, he's going to run the catcher over, Santana. At the last minute, he flops. I'm in no man's land. I was just so he hit me. I went down. I raised up. He was on top of me right away. Gibby. I raised up, looked. I could see blood. I knew it was all right. So one of the things about it that I learned, don't ever get yourself in a position. We make mistakes. That's what guys don't realize. We make mistakes. The mistake I made on that play was not being on a knee and not being able to adjust. I don't take plays on my knee anymore at the plate. Let's just say that. Learned the lesson the hard way. But the thing I like about working on the knee is I don't move. It slows my timing down. But I should have not been on my knee, and I should have been able to move. I kind of pride myself. I'm one of those guys that, I don't weigh what I weighed when I got in the league, but I still like to think that I can move a little bit when I need to. And
I saw you bet a guy $100 in a race in Sarasota.
Yeah, I lost that.
Did.
he surprised me.
Yeah, he did.
But anyway, it was, Torrey came in afterwards. It was one of those things where he was like, "Are you all right?" And I was like, "It wasn't your fault." So anyway.
So it looked a lot worse than what it was, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Tommy's going to throw that photograph up there. So back then you were wearing a bucket, right?
Yes.
We've had a lot of members want to talk about the mask you're wearing now, the All-Star Mag mask. What made you switch?
The bucket started kind of, the weight kind of started pulling on my neck a little bit. But just to be honest, I almost retired a couple years back. Good Lord willing, I stay healthy, I'm going to go through this contract. I've got a couple things going on, but I made up my mind after 2017 that I'm going to go out the way I came in, and that's with my hat and my mask. And about that, that was the same year they came out with that mask, and I love it. It's about 6 ounces. So it, going back to how I got started was kind of the reason. But it was kind of giving my neck some problems. I've gotten older. I don't bounce like I used to. We've had a few little bumps and bruises kick up, but anyway, it kind of stinks because I was healthy in spring training when we got started out this year, and like everybody else, there's nothing to do but to eat.
Yeah.
Anyway, gyms are closed. It's this whole thing's kind of really sucked. So anyway,
you've worked one no-hitter, right?
I worked Curtin Clayshaw's no-hitter, and I worked Randy Johnson's perfect game.
Right. Okay. It's pretty special.
If Hanley Ramirez hadn't made an error in the top of the sixth, I'd had 2 perfect games.
Wow. I'm going to change gears here. Do you play a musical instrument? Well, no. There's that shot right there.
Yeah.
Wow, that could have really done some damage.
Yeah, if he'd have had steel cleats on, that wouldn't have been good.
Especially the way it looks, his momentum still coming towards you.
Yep.
Wow.
But I got up.
You got that frame somewhere in your house?
No, I don't. I've made up my mind that when I retire, I'm going to hunt Torrey down.
That's a man cave shot right there.
I'm going to get him to sign one of those. And he told me, he said, he's got a pretty good size one up in his office. He said, one of these days I'm going to run into you and have you sign it. I said, I'd love to. We'll trade photos. So
yeah, that would look great on a man cave.
Torrey was a good, he's a class guy. Very classic.
When players retire, I'm not going to ask you your favorite player, but it's all about relationships, right?
Oh,
if you're going to be the prick umpire, you're going to be treated that way by everybody. And I think if you're just you and you can get the calls right and say hello in a cordial manner, I noticed there's a lot of rapport going on, whereas before it was just players talking. Now everyone's talking.
It's funny. It was a couple years back. The Marlins had a reunion of the old Marlins players, and we're walking to the plate meeting, and there was guys that we didn't get along at all. And Preston Wilson comes up and hugs me. Gibby, how you doing? I mean, it was like and it's funny. We see each other now. We laugh about it. There's players that we were all young in the minor leagues. We were all fighting to get to the big leagues, but you see guys now and you want to laugh and talk about stories. And, it's kind of funny because I'm the old guy now. So the young players really don't talk to me. They talk to the Trip Gibsons and the Pat Holbergs. They talk, so I've come full circle. I used to be that guy that, the young guy on the field is like, hey, Gibby, now I'm Mr. Gibson, and it's kind of funny because when a player walks up and says, hi, Greg, how are you? Obviously I know he has no idea who I am. Because the players, if they know me, they call me Gibby. So it's one of those things where, I've come full circle.
Yeah. Cool.
Gray hair, it's not.
Hey, we're all getting that. I'm going to throw this. This is out of left field. Do you play any musical instruments?
No.
Wow.
No.
What's your hobby?
Grew up singing in church, but never played an instrument.
Okay. What's the best advice you could give to advancing in any organization, whether it be Little League, National Federation of High Schools, minor league baseball, Major League Baseball? How do you set yourself apart to the rest of the group?
You know, you just work hard. Learn all you can. Listen and learn. That's the biggest thing I would say, especially if you're getting started. Hold on, I'm trying to get my wife. One of the dogs wants to go out. I mean, I'm at home. I'm in my house.
This is like, looks as big as a church.
Well, it's the big room in the house here. But you know, learn. Take the time. You know, one of the things about it, learn the rules. You know, be critical of yourself. You know, we all are our own worst critics. You know, I take a lot more pride in my work than what any supervisor or anybody else could ever say to me. You know, one of the things about it to this day, I still, you know, you're never too big to learn. You walk, you know, and the other thing, it goes the other way too. If someone asks me, what do you got? I tell them, you know, don't sugarcoat it. I mean, that doesn't mean bury a guy, but, you know, it also means, you know, to be honest. But the biggest thing is to be honest with yourself. You know, when I do a decent job, I'm not a great umpire. I think I'm a good umpire. But there's things that I'm constantly working on in my game, even after all these years, because I want to get better at this. Even this far in, you know, there's a lot of things that I still try to take my time to work on it and get better at. So,
what's it like, when a guy's throwing 104? Like if you've got a guy you've seen for years and he's at 96, 97, and now you're seeing 104 at the end of the game. How do you adapt to that?
Go back to the basics. On the rubber, get set, here it comes. You know, if you go back to your fundamentals, always how you got taught. Umpire school, on the rubber, get set, call it. If you go back to those basics every time, you'll be okay. You just, you know, guys sometimes you want to try to do too much or be something you're not. You know, I tell guys that are coming up and down from the big leagues all the time, more now than ever, you know, go to the basics. What's your first responsibility? Fair foul, catch, no catch. If you keep it simple, you'll be okay. It's when you try to do too much or think you know too much. Because one thing about baseball, especially umpiring, it will humble you out very quickly if you think that you're something you're not. And I've learned that lesson the hard way a few times. I mean, I've been in my younger days, I was going pretty good. And then you have a week where you're like, wow, what happened? So this game has a way of humbling you out. So always respect it and work at it, you know, constantly work at it. Hustle. You can't replace hustle. Do I run like I used to? No. But am I in position? Yes. You know, the things you can do, be good at. The things you're not good at, work on. So,
do you have any superstitions?
Oh yeah, horrible.
Okay.
Put my socks on a certain way, shoes on a certain way. You know, we've all got, anybody that's been in this game long enough has their own superstitions.
So I'm in Toronto. I won't name the crew, but I said, hey, here's your mask harness you ordered. I'll get it on for you. Oh no, man, I can't. I've had 4 plates in a row that have been really good where I don't want to jinx it. So I get that. So yeah, what are your superstitions? Just the same thing.
Sully needs to go out. There's just certain things, you know, that I like to do. You know, I used to be horrible for it, but now I wouldn't say it's superstition as much as just routine.
Routines, yeah.
Routine, you know, but early in my career, when I was in the minor leagues, I had a bad game one time and I took off my wife's laughing because she's hearing this question. I took off a pair of long underwear and threw them in the trash. Oh, stop. He was over there. He's been ringing the bell. I text you help.
So anyway, let's change gears. What's the funniest thing a player or a manager has ever said to you where you almost couldn't keep it together?
Oh, I laugh. If it's funny, I laugh. Last year, I threw Ned Yost out, and he said something funny, and I, Jerry Davis was very stern faced, and I started laughing. I used to get in trouble with Charlie. Charlie Rose, my crew chief. Wow. We would huddle, and if something was funny, I laughed. I mean, I've never hid my emotions or anything. The funniest thing I probably ever saw on the field, being in Toronto, you'll like this one. It was Borders.
Pat Borders.
Pat Borders. Pat Borders came down from the big leagues or got released or whatever. He was trying to make a comeback, and he was playing AAA ball, and he was just struggling. It was like the 4-game series. Anyway, he swings for strike 3, swings at a ball in the dirt. It bounces. He's batting. He picks up the ball, tags himself out, and then throws it down to third. And we all lost it. I mean, it was like, and he just like, but that was probably one of the funniest things I ever saw on the field.
That is pretty good. Strangest play you've ever seen on a field while you're umpiring?
In AAA, it was me, Pete Celestino, and Doug Eddings.
Wow.
We were in Pawtucket, and I was at second base. Doug Eddings went out, Pete Celestino went out and had the call. Doug was working the plate. I was at first base. And the way the center fielder went back, I had the angle on it. Well, the ball hit the wall and went in the guy's glove. Well, the runners were running. We didn't know what to do. So anyway, long story short, Pete called it a catch. Now having this was, 1998, fixing a play like that then was unheard of. With replay now, we fix that play.
Right.
But with, there was times back then we just died with a call. I was the only guy on the field that saw the ball hit the wall, go in the glove. And Pete asked me, one of the things I got pulled aside by Mr. Vargo and Randy Mobley is like, I said, so what do you want us to do if I see it miss a call? How do we fix that and place runners? Because, well, now we think nothing of that with replay. We do that all the time in replay. But then in 1998, that was unheard of. Sometimes when you messed up, you died with some calls. And that, back again, that's the good thing about being the big leagues now and replay. We're able to fix that kind of stuff. But that was one of the weirdest plays. What do we do then? Now we don't think anything of it. That's how the game's evolved.
Nice. Obviously you're a family man. How often do you get to see your family during the season?
Depends on what crew chief I'm with.
Right.
Yeah. I've got 3 sons, Kyle, Cameron, and Carter. Kyle's going to be 21. Cameron's going to be 18. Carter's going to be 16. The last couple of years, they've got events going on. Michelle may make a trip. You don't really leave 3 teenage boys at the house by themselves for very long because you never know what you're coming back to. But, they played ball things. It's been a little difficult. But, they come when they can. It's funny now, the boys, if and when I work in Cincinnati, they rarely come to a game. So, it's one of the things that we've always done that I can say that I've done. It's a job. It's not anything other than, it's a job. It's how I earn a living.
Yep.
It's funny, the area that I live in Eastern Kentucky, Charlie Relaford and I are from the same hometown. When Charlie was umpiring, people had no idea. I was on Charlie's crew. We were working together. And they'd see Charlie out and talk all about baseball and walk on by me. I mean, they had no idea. I mean, so, I kind of have not really been one of those guys that, hey, look at me, but they get out when they can. But one of the things we do, we just treat it's a job.
Right.
And I've been very blessed to have the job that I have, but it's been a nice career, very nice career.
Every guy that I've gotten to know over the years, first thing they say is, Ray, it's a job.
Yeah.
It's what I do for a living. Yeah, there's perks, And there's great benefits, but you know what, Ray? It's a 6-month grind. And you're flying on nice airplanes and you're never seeing your foot locker. You think of a guy starting out in minor league baseball, and it could be a 10, 11-year grind for him. You have to have a lot of discipline and a lot of confidence just to even get a shot. And you've been doing it a while now, and you've got a family, but
I'm very blessed.
It's just unbelievable how every major league umpire it's almost like it's a script, because you guys all say the same thing. Yeah, it's a job. And one umpire said, Ray, I haven't gotten playoffs in a couple of years, but I don't care. I get to go home to see my family. And, I've heard that a few times from guys, like they've had playoff games, but it's not the end of the world if they don't get them.
No, and that's true, because one of the things, I worked a lot. 2015, 2016, the last couple of years, I really only worked 2018, but one of the things because I did work a lot, I worked a lot early in my career. And one of the things about it is you find yourself rooting for the guys. Right. You've been there, how that feels. And it's really kind of cool, because like last year, I'd missed 40 games. I was home hurt. Pat Holberg got his first playoff plate job. And, it's kind of cool when these guys these young guys coming up, like the Trip Gibsons, the Pat Holbergs, the Corey Blazers, the Jordan Bakers, you see these guys starting to, and your chest kind of, because, you're proud of them. You're happy for them. You want to see them have success, and you're sitting there rooting for them. And they call you and they say, hey, and it's really it's come full circle. I don't have to have that. There was a time I needed that. No, if I get picked, that's great. If not, I'm sitting on the sidelines. I'm your biggest fan, because I know how that feels. And so you're rooting for the guys, because I've missed plays in the playoffs before replay, and nobody likes to be that. You go out there and people don't realize the pressure that you're under. You're not going to be perfect. You're not going to, but you just do your best, and it is what it is. And, spend a lot of time in prayer saying, dear Lord, please make sure I don't screw up.
So bottom line is, it's a job, but a pretty cool job.
It's a very cool job.
Yeah.
One of the things last year, I'll tell you this, they sent me down for 3 rehab games before I came back. I went to AAA. And it really it was very cool in the fact that all these kids are coming up and going, you've been in the big leagues for how long? 20 plus years? And it's like, man, the young AAA players were just, they couldn't get over 20 years in the big leagues. And it really made me appreciate what I have.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can take it for granted. I take for granted walking in a major league ballpark. When I came back last year after being hurt, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed going to the ballpark every day. It was really good for me in a sense of appreciating what I have. So
when you were first starting out, was there one person who took you under his wing and kind of steered you the right way, like at the major league level?
There was a lot. I taught at Harry Wendelsted's umpire school. I sat at the feet of Harry Wendelstead every day. Obviously, Charlie Relaford, same hometown. He taught me a lot. As far as a crew chief that really took me under his wing going up and down, that was Frank Pulley.
Wow.
Pulley took, him being the strong Italian, he would always make fun of how I talk, but Frank really took me under his wing. And then with time, I worked my first big league game with Jerry Lane. Jerry Lane has been like a big brother. Jerry Davis has been like, just there's 2 people, a lot of times you guys will say chief. There's only been 2 guys I call chief. Right. That was Harry Wendelstead and Jerry Davis. Jerry Davis is my chief. I call him chief. When you think about the last 20 years, he's probably the greatest umpire of our generation. And I've got to sit and learn a lot from him. So, I've had great teachers, great mentors. uh, and friendships. But I'd have to say, you know, Davis and Lane have had a lot to do with my success. I've worked a lot of playoff games with both those guys.
Mm-hmm.
So
I have a Jerry Lane story I'll share with you in a minute, but what was that question? It was a good question. If you weren't an umpire, what would you be doing?
What I'm doing now, insurance agent.
Right. How's that going, by the way? You started your own, you went back to school and graduated.
Yeah.
University, and I noticed you launched Greg Gibson's insurance. You want to talk about that?
Sure.
What made you get into insurance?
What's that?
What made you get into insurance? Why insurance?
There was a couple of things that happened back in 2016. I don't want to go into that. That's the thing of it is I was upset about that at the time, but now I'm thankful that all that happened because it led me to this.
Okay.
One of the things about it, working with the guys that I've worked with, we've wore too many patches on our sleeves the last couple of years, losing guys that I worked with.
Yeah.
And one of the things about this job, they don't teach a man how to retire ever. And there was a few things that didn't go right that kind of soured me a little bit in my career, with my career and a couple of things. And, looking back at it now, God has a plan. I didn't realize it at the time. I was just too mad. And it led me to this. And it was about 7 years ago now. A buddy of mine calls me up and says, "Hey, you ought to think about doing, commercial insurance." I was like, and then I had State Farm, and my State Farm agent said, "Hey, you would be really good at this." And I was like, well, so I kind of kept the back of my mind. And then 2016, I picked up the phone and called State Farm and got to, they kind of said, "Hey, we'd like to talk to you." So I went through everything. I was actually an agent in waiting with State Farm. Went to work for Bob Munich State Farm Insurance. I worked in his office for 2 years. State Farm, it was love, wasn't a marrying kind of love. I left there. I went to work for a guy in Huntington, a commercial insurance agency in Huntington, West Virginia. And one of the things that I was doing was I was making everybody else some money and wasn't making,
right.
And I kind of wanted to be my own boss. And I talked about it for a year, and then the timing just got right. 2018, there was a lot, I had a great year. I thought, and so we got home, we formed our LLC. We opened our doors. I got appointed with my first company, Erie Insurance, that I represent. I've got others now, but Erie took a chance on me. They wanted a bigger footprint in the state of Kentucky. They knew a little bit about my success I'd had with State Farm. And so I went, I got my license, and I didn't want to be just the umpire with an insurance license.
Right.
And one of the things about it, when I would talk to State Farm, they would, when I went through all these modules and questions and to get to be an agent and waiting and put my business plan, one of the things I always said, "Well, where'd you get your degree?" I had a guy one time from State Farm corporate call and say, "Hey, your test scores came back incredible for your management skills." And I said, "Did you not read what I do?" I said, "I manage." I said, I manage, 50 plus different personalities a night. I've done it for, 18 plus years at the time. And I said, I've learned from the School of Hard Knocks. That's been my management training. But I went back to school. I was so close to my degree. When I left to go to umpire school, I promised my dad that I would graduate college. I was 8 classes from my degree when I left home in 1991. So I made the promise to my dad. I walked last year. I got my degree. I got my business general studies, but I got my minor in risk management and insurance. Right now, I'm taking a CIC class since I got free time. I've been in front of the computer all day taking a CIC class. I got to take my test next week. But, insurance is something I've kind of dove into. You're umpiring, insurance, same thing, necessary evil. You don't like us, got to have us. So it's really, and I like people. I like helping people. And it's been really cool. I mean, I go to the office. I've got a great team. 2 ladies that are with me, Carla Martin, State Farm, 25 plus years. Teresa Songer, 26 plus years. My son Kyle's on my team. And then a guy I got to be close to, Rich Mahar, he was on the PGA for 11 years. So, you know, I've got a great team. And you know, I laugh and joke all the time. They really don't need me when I'm gone. Obviously, I've been in the office a lot since we've, you know, obviously with everything going on. I've had them all working remotely. I haven't wanted them in the office, but you know, when I'm gone, they really don't need me. And I work nights, so everything's web based now. I'm able to still work you know, I work probably 3-4 hours a day. But one of the things about the team that when we talked about doing this and coming on board and take, you know, they know that about 3:30 every day, I turn my computer off, turn my phone off, I lay down, I rest, I get myself ready to go do, you know, my job, my umpiring job. But wherever I'm at,
I actually have a question about that. So
yeah.
you just led into it. So what's it like in the umpire room? A typical game, a night game. What time do you get there, and what do you do?
I'd kill Jerry Lane and those guys because I'm a big. They go nuts because they want to get to the ballpark like an hour 45, hour and a half before a game.
Yeah.
If you get me in that locker room an hour before the game, you're lucky. And then I want to play a half hour's worth of cards to kind of unwind. And one of the things about it, I learned this from Paul Runge. You know, you sit down, we all play spades.
Right.
And we play spades for a reason, because when you play cards, and if you really play cards, you realize it's a thinking game. And you learn a lot about your partner, especially young guys coming up. I want to know you can think. I watch how you play cards to see if you can think when you're on the field. And then when you're playing cards, you know, say last year, playing Jerry Davis, Brian Knight, myself, we're playing Pat Holberg. If all of a sudden I notice Brian Knight or Pat Holberg playing some way that they don't normally play, it kind of perks my radar up that I might have to keep an eye on them on the field that night. And the same goes for me. Wow. You know, we are real people. We have real lives. We have things happen. And so one of the things about it, it kind of alerts you to, maybe I need to keep a little bit extra eye on somebody tonight, or so. And plus, I want to see, especially a young guy, I want to see, can you think? Can you think on your feet?
Right.
Or are you just going to stand there with the deer in the headlight look? Can you think? If you can think, I want you. Well, you know, one of the things about when you get to the big leagues, and they did it to me, they taught me how to umpire. Right. I was pretty good ball strike, safe out, but when I got to the major leagues, I had some guys really take the time to teach me how to umpire. So the big thing is can you think? Will you listen? And then we'll teach you what you need to know.
This is every time you mention Jerry Lane, I kind of laugh because this actually happened. You don't hear of an umpire going to miss a game or be late for a game, but the night before I noticed him, he's working in Toronto. He's working first base. So I phoned Hunter, Hunter Wendelstadt, who was in the replay booth. I said, can you get Jerry Lane to call me? Because I've got something for him. He ordered it and never got back to me. So I get a call at 3 a.m, and it's from Jerry Lane. He goes, Ray, what are you doing? I go, sleeping, Jerry. He goes, meet me in Toronto tomorrow at 5 o'clock. I'll get the clubby to come and get you. Phone me when you get there. So I get there at 4:30, 4:45. And I phone him. I said, where are you? And he goes, I'm in Niagara Falls. We're leaving about 20 minutes from now. I said, you're never going to get back in time for the game. You better leave at 3 o'clock. So he almost missed the game because he thought he was there with his family down in the wine country, thinking, wow, we're down there at Niagara on the Lake in Niagara Falls, and I'll get to the game. No big deal. 40 minutes before the game, I said, dude, that traffic backup is probably 30 miles right now. You got no chance if you don't leave right now. And he showed up, and it was funnier than hell. And he had a play that night. Left fielder went up on the wall, and ball hit the wall and went in the glove, and they had the huddle because nobody could figure it out. So
I was with him that night.
You were there that night?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's right. You were there.
Yeah. It was one of those ones that you lead into the replay. There's some of them. That's the thing about with replay. We'd have never seen that. There was no way. So thank goodness for replay.
Okay. I got one more question, Greg. You've been really generous with your time. How has umpiring changed in the last 20 years?
The biggest thing is everything's on television now. You're under a constant microscope. You know, one of the things about it years ago, you could kind of hide. you could kind of, and when I say that, I don't mean it in a, you know, if you were tired and you had third base, you may, we do everything wasn't on television. And I'm not saying we took it easy, but I'm saying now you are on, there is no nights off. I mean, not that there ever was, but you'd better be as alert working third base as the plate, as first, as second. It's not that any of us ever phoned it in or any of us ever, but there was nights where you may have, because you're tired or whatever, you might have not had the concentration. Now you're under such a microscope. To the point now, guys, they're getting their rest. We're working out. The stress of the job. It's incredible. You have social media now. One of the things that I dread the most is me doing something stupid and blowing up Twitter and my son seeing it. Right. So it's one of those things where,
and we've had a couple of major league umpires do that.
Yeah, you've just really got to realize that now you're under such the microscope and such the scrutiny. Accountability's become a big word, and it's not like we never were accountable, right. But now, and the funny thing is they think we're not. The players are starting to find out the accountability that we have. Every call that I make, every single pitch, every single call is graded and scrutinized. I get it right back right here on my phone. We get tons of information now.
I've seen you guys in the room looking at your phones forever.
So. And that's one of the things is that's how the game has changed. I mean, and I don't want it to come across the wrong way. Not that we didn't work hard at before, but now the magnitude of a miss or a major mess up is so much more. That is the difference. You're under such the microscope now that you just have to really be on your A game. One of the things about it, I used to hear the older guys say, well, I really don't have to work till after the All-Star break. You better, you approach every game the same. I mean, from even spring training now, spring training used to be a lot of fun. Guys didn't care. I find this year in spring training, I had a couple players, I'm like, it's my first plate job. Now it's become to the point you're like, relax. But that's just the thing. It's the game has changed to the point where you're under this microscope and the scrutiny is just, it's unreal. It's absolutely unreal. So there's never a moment off, ever. And somebody's always watching.
That's a good point. And that goes for even the amateur umpire. Somebody's always watching somewhere.
Somebody's watching. Somebody's videoing. Somebody's, something.
Yeah.
So you have to realize that, we all live in the fishbowl now.
Sure.
So somebody's watching. Somebody's watching.
Well, Gibby, I want to thank you for doing this. You are my first guest, and I think it's been really fantastic. And I'm going to make a donation to Umps Charity, Umps Care Charity for you. I get so many requests, but I'm going to do this for you. I know you're a big part of that, and I'll make a donation. And I just want to say I really enjoyed it. You've always been great with me, and can't wait to see what happens next.
We'll see. Well, hopefully we're all back soon. So,
yeah.
Hey, last thing, everybody stay safe. We're all in this together. The more that we do things like this, the quicker we're going to get back. I mean, it's getting a little tough. I'm ready to, everybody is like our fifth week. But to get to where we want to be, we've all got to do, it's tough. It's tough, but everybody stay safe, everybody stay home, and let's get this thing curved. And we all want to get back on the field. Doesn't matter what level we're at. We all want to get back on the field. So everybody stay safe, take care of themselves, and appreciate everything always, Ray.
Thanks, Gibby. Take care.
All right, buddy. Bye-bye.
See you, man.
Thank you for joining us for tonight's broadcast of Gotta Ask, featuring our guest professional umpire, Greg Gibson. Please join us again on April 16th at 7 p.m. when our guest will be Jim Kirk from Umpatire. Have a good evening. May you and your family stay safe and healthy.